There is nothing more unequal than the equal distribution to unequals. What? I'll explain in this episode. I'm going to address beware. If you have a trust, it can be a disaster if it's an equal distribution trust rather than an equal opportunity trust. So this is important because most trusts are equal distribution, which can ruin half of your heirs. So I'm Doug Andrew, and I've helped many thousands of people change their trust if they had a trust before they met me, or if they didn't, set one up correctly in the first place. Because most people have trusts that are designed to be equal distribution trusts, and it ruins half of their heirs, their posterity, and they didn't want that to happen, but they sort of set themselves up for that failure. So during this episode, get ready. I'm going to talk about why people set up trusts and why most of them are equal distribution and what is the difference between that and equal opportunity and what you can do with rules of governance to empower your children and grandchildren instead of enable them and create this entitlement mentality. Sound good? So let's get ready to go and talk about what a trust is and what it does over maybe just a will. A lot of times when people begin to accumulate assets, many times they begin to realize, well, maybe I should have a will. Why? Because they want to make sure if they happen to die that their assets, their money, goes to who they want it to go to. Because if you die without a will, the state where you live actually has a will for you. Most people don't like how those wills are set up because the state will determine who gets your assets, and they also will determine who is the guardian of your minor children if you and your spouse were to pass away in a common disaster, let's say an accident. And if you have 4 children, the state may say, no, 4 children passing on to somebody else to raise is too much. 2 of them will go over here, 2 of them will go over there, and so forth. And maybe you had an agreement. But if it's not in writing, then it doesn't mean anything. Now, there's also a saying, where there's a will, there's a probate. Not a way. If you have a will, there's usually going to be a probate, because probate is the legal jurisdiction of a court that makes sure that your will is carried out. And probate can be expensive, and it takes a while because, there's a lot of parties that have to be cleared first. There's, in fact, 7 parties before your kids actually get whatever you wanted to leave behind to them, because they have to make sure any federal tax that is owed if you die is taken care of, state tax and local taxes, real estate or your house or whatever, property taxes. And then they make sure that the attorney's fees and the court costs and the executor or the trustee is taken care of. And then any creditors are taken care of first. And so you have to list it in the legal notices of the newspaper. Once all that's cleared, then you can pass it down to your heirs. Okay. A lot of people want to avoid probate, so they set up a trust. A trust can be settled in one day, but there's other reasons why people set up trusts. It keeps things private, whereas wills are public information. If you set up a trust, usually if it's done right, it protects your assets from liability lawsuits in the sue-happy society we have become. So that if somebody sues you, the most they can wipe out is half of your assets instead of all of it. If you own your house in joint tenancy or whatever, and you are the one driving the car, they can wipe out your house if you own it in joint tenancy with your spouse. But if it's in a trust, the most they can wipe out is half of your assets if the trust is done correctly. And so you want to fund a trust and so forth. And there's also the second spouse syndrome, that if one of you dies and then the remaining spouse marries a new spouse, if you do not have a trust, sometimes your assets go to the new spouse's kids and yours are disinherited. So there's a lot of reasons why a trust is better than a will. And you don't necessarily have to be worth a lot of money to justify a trust, okay? Now, I have episodes on this very channel that talk about the difference between trusts and wills. I would recommend you search those. But if this is already intriguing you, hold on, because I'm going to show you the difference between equal opportunity versus equal distribution trust. Before I do that, be sure and subscribe. to this channel, click subscribe, and when you do, click that little bell because then you'll be notified every time I post a new episode, which I do almost on a daily basis. And feel free, as I proceed, to click like or post a comment or share with somebody else. But stay with me to the end because I want to gift you a copy of one of my books. It retails for $20 and I will gift it to you absolutely free that will show you how to set up a trust, but how to do it the right way, okay? The problem with most trusts is that the attorney sits down with you, and once they find out your net worth, what's the first question they ask you? How many kids have you got? And then what are they going to start doing? Dividing it up. That's the number one rule if you want to destroy, divide and conquer. But they set up a trust because it's boilerplate. They take your kids' names and they plug it into the boilerplate trust document. They charge you $2,000 or $3,000 or whatever. And then what happens? When you die, those assets that he plugged in, or she plugged in, chunk, 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 are divided up equally, dumped in your kid's lap, and it ruins half of the kids. Why? Because all of a sudden, this equal distribution sometimes kills the goose laying the golden eggs. If it was, apartment complexes, real estate, business, we got to be fair. The only way to be fair is you got to sell it. Well, maybe it's not smart to sell it because you're killing the goose laying the golden eggs. Why would you do that? Under normal trust, that's what you have to do. And I've seen it ruin a lot of the money, and it ruins the kids because then the kids sit around, when do I get my share? And I've seen people inherit $1 million, $2 million, and it ruins them. They quit work and they become idle, okay? And they get this entitlement mindset. And I've seen them when they learn about their mom and dad's equal distribution trust, they hover around like vultures. Mom, Dad, how do you feel? How much longer do you think you're going to live? Could I get an advance on my inheritance? When do I get my share? Oh, it's unbelievable. No, you want to change it to equal opportunity. So what's that? Well, I mentioned at the very beginning, there's nothing more unequal than the equal distribution to unequals. And people go, what? So let me explain it this way. I do not believe our Creator gives equal distribution of blessings, let's say, to all of us of health, regardless of how some of us may choose to abuse our bodies. Our Creator doesn't go, I'm going to give you equal health to this person over here, even though they abuse their body. They take harmful substances. They never exercise. They way overeat. And I know you exercise. I want to be fair. I'm going to give them equal health to you. No. Our Creator gives us equal opportunities, not equal distribution of health or anything. So instead of just carving it up and dumping it in their laps, I require my kids and grandkids have skin in the game. They need to be responsible and accountable. If they need help with college education or to start a business, they can borrow. They can go into a joint venture. They pay the loan back, or the family bank is what I call it, owns 20%. And if they want to buy me out, they can. It's the real world, today's interest rates and so forth. But it's not just a handout. I will give them a hand up, but never a handout, because that ruins them. It gives them an entitlement mindset. Your money and your estate will last for generations if you empower them and you have it there to be used for equal opportunities instead of equal distribution, where it's divided up and dumped in their laps and then it dissipates. Instead, you want to preserve, protect, perpetuate, and help them prosper. That is explained in my book, Entitlement, Abolition. How to set up equal opportunity rules of governance while you're alive. And when you die, it's not a surprise to your kids. They're not going to sit there and go, what? You disinherited me? No, they don't expect it. It's always been contingent upon you step up to the plate. You put some skin in the game, and you can borrow money. You can be matched with money if you get a scholarship to go to school. If you want to start a business, we can go in as a joint venture. You can buy me out. This is the rules, and you don't have to pay me cash. You can work it off, but you are requiring skin in the game. Does that make sense? So this is explained in the book Entitlement, Abolition. And I want to gift you a copy of this. It's 200 pages. And if this intrigues you, you'll have the opportunity to learn from an 18-hour master class on how to do this correctly and have equal opportunity rules of governance when you set up your trust or to amend your trust to do that. Does that make sense? And so this will empower your heirs. You simply go to entitlementabolitionbook.com or click on the link below. You contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that cost, but I want you to have skin in the game, okay? And then you'll read it, you'll study it, you'll appreciate it. And then if you like to listen and learn and watch and learn, there's options there. And then you can invest in an 18-hour masterclass that goes way deeper than the book. But this is about you, your family, and empowering those you care about instead of enabling them and watching them get this entitlement mindset. Will you pay for? Can I have? When do I get my share? You want to abolish that.